Why did I take this job? Because you're a smart guy, and you know who the people want to hear from. Just keep it professional, okay? Don't you worry, bro. I'm getting paid handsomely for my time. Fucking cornet and his stipulations. What was that? Nothing. Let's do this.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and WYW faithful, welcome to WYW Off the Books.
Off the Books.
The only podcast which delves into the minds of our athletes before an upcoming mega event. Now here is your host, the Wrestling Encyclopedia, CAW.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to WYW Off the Books. I'm the Wrestling Encyclopedia, Casey Gallagher, and it's time once again to dive into the minds of our athletes to see what makes them tick, with Immortal on the horizon. With that in mind, my next guest may very well be the single most polarizing athlete in Weymouth Youth Wrestling today. Leader of the most dominant faction the company has seen in recent memory, he comes to us from Gainesville, Georgia, and, despite his choice of tactics, is a spectacular athlete when he decides to show it off. Anything to get to the title, bro. The ends justify the means. You learn that real quick once you step between those ropes. He will be competing at Immortal in the main event of the show against Michael X in one of the most dangerous matches in the industry, a Hell in a Cell match, to crown the inaugural WYW World Champion. Please welcome the leader of the Maggie Daddy Men, the outsider, Mark Young. Lighten up, Master of Wrestling Trivia, it's me, Marky Mark. You'll forgive me for being a little apprehensive still. Bro, chill out and relax. Like I said, I'm getting paid handsomely. There'll be no trouble for me today. Before we continue, I have to ask, where are the rest of the Maggies? Off taking care of their own business. We both know they also have a big match coming up in Immortal. True. Okay, here we go. First, Immortal draws nearer and nearer with every passing day. It's shaping up to be the biggest event in our company's history. What does it mean to you to headline the biggest show the CAW world has ever seen, and maybe will ever see? It don't mean shit unless I walk out of there with a title. I'm fucking with you, bro. Relax. It's one of the biggest things that's ever happened to me in my life. This is what I've trained, worked, and busted my ass 15 years to claim. A spot in the main event on the grandest stage the CAW world will ever know. And to have the WYW Championship within my grasp on top of that, it's really the icing on the cake. A cake that I will soon be eating over the limp body of my opponent that night. Don't count your chickens before they hatch, Mark. What's the count? Those chickens don't need to hatch for me to make an omelet. I just need to break their eggs. Moving right along. Here at Off the Books, we like to delve into the minds of those who make this company go. Would you be open to discussing your past? Sharing some of the things that made a young man, no pun intended, into the outsider? I'm actually kinda glad you asked that, bro, because this is one of the few differences between myself and Michael X. I'm willing to divulge my past. I don't run from it or hide it. I embrace it and learn from it. At your leisure, then. I'm actually not originally from Georgia. A lot of people haven't guessed this. Dumbasses. The first 2 decades of my life were spent in the Bronx. Hence the accent. You can take the boy out of the Bronx, but you can't take the Bronx out of the man, right? Fucking A. So I grew up in the Bronx with my mom, stepdad, and older brother Eric. Not Showtime, before you ask. They were all very loving and supportive. All my teachers were great. But the kids on the playground, man, they were a bunch of douchebags. Always telling me, you're never gonna amount to shit. You're never gonna fucking be shit. All that bullshit. Well, guess what, fuckers? Here I am. Anyway, all went along pretty well besides those bastards until I was 12. My mom and dad were the greatest people I knew. But even they weren't perfect. They both had substance problems. My dad was a raging alcoholic, and my mother was hooked on dope. And I'm not talking about weed. Heroin? Damn Skippy. Thankfully, there was rarely, if ever, any violence in my house. My old man and old lady didn't get angry when they got fucked up. They just got silly. So when they were too out of it to remember their own name, I never wanted for laughter or entertainment. But I was crying on the inside, because I knew in my heart that this wasn't my parents. And it all came to a head one day. I remember this so vividly. It was April Fool's Day of '95, a Saturday, so I didn't have school. My dad had been in the hospital for a while. Liver issues, I'm assuming? Yeah, he had cirrhosis real bad from all the booze. You gotta understand, most weeks he'd drink more booze than water. And he didn't discriminate either. Beer, wine, bourbon, vodka, tequila, moonshine. He drank it all, often within minutes of each other. Anyway, we got the call that day, and Mom brought me and Eric to the hospital. They said it had progressed to the point where he only had a few days left and brought us in. I'm guessing that was the last time you saw your father alive? Well, aren't you a smart fucker? And the last thing he ever said to me was this. I love you so much, Mark. Don't end up like your old man and old lady. Be better than us. Be better than us. Wow. I never knew. 'Cause you never bothered to fucking ask until now. And there's more. So that's Saturday, right? Well, Monday rolls around, and I'm sitting in math class finishing up a worksheet when I hear this voice over the intercom. Could I please have Mark to the principal's office? I somehow ended up being the only Mark in my school. Still have no fucking clue how that happened. I know, right? So I look at my teacher and I says, "The hell did I do?" She goes, "That's what I'd like to know." Well, only one way to find out, right? So I head down to the office, and it turns out, good news is, I'm not in trouble. Why do I get the feeling I know what the bad news is? Because you've been paying real fucking close attention up to this point, smartass. Anyway, bad news is, as you probably guessed, they told me they got the call that my old man had passed away in his sleep, painlessly and peacefully. Of course, me being 12 years old, I broke down and cried right then and there. So they gave me a moment to collect myself, told me I could leave early. I went and packed my shit, told my class what had happened, said my goodbyes, and headed for home. Where the worst was waiting for me. Oh God. Don't tell me. Yup. I open the door, and there she is, laying on the floor. Blank eyes roll back into her skull, phone laying on the ground near her hand, tourniquet tight as fuck. Needle still in her arm. The rest of the day's a fucking blur from that point. Mother of God. So they hold a double funeral and Eric offers to take me in. By this time, he'd been sworn in as a police officer and had his own place. Nothing special, just a graveyard shift beat cop. But all he'd ever wanted to do was protect and serve his city. So he took me in, and much like my parents when they were sober, did his damnedest to see to it that I wanted for nothing. Sounds like your brother had his head on pretty straight. Eric was a good man. I looked up to him a lot. So he took me in, and all went well for about the next 8 years. Then, one day, he came to me before his shift and said, "Hey, I'm gonna be around this neighborhood tonight. It seems pretty quiet out there. You wanna come along?" I was 20. Let me guess. You went along for the ride? Fucking bingo. You damn well better believe I went. You give me any opportunity to spend time with my bro, and I'm gonna take it. So we're driving around for a couple of hours. I'm asking him a few questions like, how does this thing work? Or what do you do if that happens? Blah, 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 etc., etc. Quiet night. Not much of anything going on. And then we hear this ominous motorcycle roar off in the distance, getting closer and closer by the second. Yeah. The leader of a local bike gang was on the warpath, shooting at any cops he came across. The car we were in just so happened to be next in line for him. I watched as he pointed his gun straight at me. Eric shoved me out of the way just as the guy opened fire with a full automatic pistol. What the shit? Pretty much my exact fucking thoughts. He was unrecognizable when they called me in to identify the body. The fucker on the bike had emptied the entire clip into his face. They had to resort to DNA testing to identify him. Is that why you're so vicious against Michael X? Part of it. The other part is the outfit he wears. Very reminiscent of the outfit worn by the piece of shit who shot my brother. It's not the same outfit, so don't freak out. But every time I look at him, I'm reminded of that night. And I go fucking ape shit. Good Lord. Well, moving along from that, who exactly trained you and how did you come to work in this industry? Fucking hell, you're on the ball today. Give yourself a sugar cookie. That's literally the next part of my story. So the day after we laid my bro to rest, I went to do the last thing he and I had planned to do together before he died. Turned out to be a wrestling event. The marquee special guest who I was able to meet that day was Johnny Rods. Oh. He trained Taz, Tommy Dreamer, and Devon Dudley, among a host of others. Damn right. So I watched the event and was enthralled by what I was seeing, especially the heels, how they were able to work the crowd into a frenzy with their antics. I remember thinking, towards the main event, after a particularly fun rant by their lead heel, I think I found what I want to do with my life. The psychology, the skill, the pinpoint accuracy that was required. Not to mention the sheer fact that it looked fun as fuck and therapeutic as all hell. Wow, therapeutic. There's a word for you. Fuck off with that shit. I'm not a moron, and don't fucking interrupt. Fucking asshole. Anyway, the event ends, and I stick around to talk to a couple of the people that worked the event. Eventually, one of the wrestlers told me about Gleason's Gym in Brooklyn. I assume you know who runs the fucking place? That would be Johnny Rods. Better fucking believe it. So I went up there and started training with him. He taught me everything he knew about this industry, but he didn't teach me everything I know. And before you ask, I taught myself everything he didn't teach me. So how did you get from there to Georgia? I lost my day job just as I was finishing up training. Job market wasn't exactly the best back then. I had some extended family down in Gainesville, and they agreed to let me stay with them while I finished getting my feet under me. It was there that I found my inroads into the wrestling industry. I saw an ad for the Heartland Wrestling Association, which, correct me if I'm wrong, was a WWE developmental territory at the time. That's the one. But I trained separately from everyone, so I didn't meet anyone. Mainly because I couldn't shake the feeling that WWE wasn't going to allow me the kind of creative freedom that I crave. Because as you know, I'm not exactly, shall we say, family fucking friendly. I'll say. A few months later, I was moved to Ohio Valley Wrestling, where I perfected my training regimen. But it was still creatively stifling, so I parted ways from the organization and spent several years just traveling the indies and plying my trade. So how did you discover Weymouth Youth Wrestling? Same way as most fucking people, through James Archangel and Michael X. But they didn't bring me in. I watched their first test match and tracked down the people that ran the place. They signed me secretly and told me to cut loose as soon as I made my debut. Is that when you met Michael Andre and Corey Dangerous? Bet your ass it was. We all hit it off straight away and made a promise to each other that we were going to be the most dominant force in WYW, if not the entire CAW world. They're great guys once you get to know them. Some might disagree with that, but that's neither here nor there. Besides, I'm getting word that it is now time to take our first commercial break. When we come back, the outsider talks about his vision and his memories of the test match series. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Labeled one of the best rock bands in recent memory and future rock and roll Hall of Famers, Disturbed are back with their newest album, Immortalized, featuring their hit single, The Vengeful One. Other tracks on this album include Fire It Up, Save Our Last Goodbye, Legion of Monsters, the official WYW Gold Rush quarterfinal theme songs, Never Wrong, and The Brave and the Bold. And the official premiere event, WYW Immortal theme songs, The Light, and Immortalized. Download the full album now on iTunes and on Spotify. Disturbed, Immortalized.
Proudly sponsored by Weymouth Youth Wrestling.
Michael X and Mark Young at Immortal in the main event will be fighting for the WYW Heavyweight Championship inside a Hell in a Cell. But Michael X is not the only one with a score to settle with the Maggie Daddy Men, as the Hat Trick Incorporated look to settle a much needed score after Corey Dangerous screwed Chris Dodd in his match with the Maggie Daddy Men leader, Mark Young. After the events of quarterfinals episode 1, where Owen Finch fought in a losing effort to Ramel Tsunami, the Maggie Daddy Men would then go and assault Owen Finch with 2 chairs before Chris Dodd, the franchise, would come out and make the save. Once they chased the Maggie Daddy Men off, Colin Dunn had an interview with them after the show. It was then learned that the Maggie Daddy Men, provided that they lose in the Gold Rush Tag Team Tournament, would be fighting the Hat Trick Incorporated.
Chris, Owen, it's learned that after tonight's events, you guys, along with John Brady, will be fighting Brett, Corey, and Little Andre in a 6-man tag match. How do you feel?
You damn right, Colin. You motherfuckers think you could get one over on us? Come on, what are you doing? You've got to be 3 levels of stupid. Ironically enough, there's 3 of you. I've been waiting to get my hands on these mamby-pamby bitches. Or wait, McFlugo flopper anuses. Ah, fuck it, what does it matter? Just like tonight, we're gonna prove that they're nothing but the side bit hoes of Mark Young. Tell them what it's like, Chris.
This is gonna be a fun match. Mainly because I get to kick the shit out of the guy who cost me in the first round to begin with. I'll tell you right now, I'm still the fucking franchise, and with the Birdman and Brickhouse by my side, we're taking these bitches to school.
Hat Trick Incorporated. Don't you forget it, baby!
Corey Dangerous and Brett Menchen would then lose to Chris Phoenix and Jones Meister, collectively known as the Almost Cousin Alliance. Later on in the show, however, Chris Dodd would then have a backstage assault planned for one tank, known as Little Andre. This fueled the fire for what's sure to be a volatile encounter between the Maggie Daddy Men and the Hat Trick Incorporated, as Corey Dangerous, Brett Menchen, and Little Andre had some thoughts after the show and recorded them for us to hear.
Know who are a bunch of nerds? The Hat Trick Incorporated, yeah, right, guys?
I can't say you're wrong on that. Just thinking about them makes me feel even more dead inside than I already am. Pieces of shit.
Indeed.
Yeah, you know what, guys? I can't understand what you're trying. It's like, this is ridiculous. I just want. Can we just all be nice and fun and have some good happy afternoon shenanigans?
I'll tell you who won't be having a nice happy afternoon. Hat Trick Inc. come immortal.
Yeah, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take them, I'm gonna fold them like a piece of origami paper, and I'm gonna stretch him out like he ain't nothing at the end of the day. I swear to God, I'm gonna bust him in half. I'm gonna break his goddamn neck. I swear to God.
Corey, I think we need to find some downers for Andre.
Yeah, I think we do.
That was it? Okay. Despite the unorthodox interview style that the Maggie Daddy Men seem to have, they are not to be messed with. Yeah, no, seriously. I mean, they're not. Really. A piece of origami paper. I'm sorry. But yeah, they're not to be messed with. And what will happen when the Hat Trick Incorporated and the Maggie Daddy Men come to blows? Find out at 4:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday night as we find out who the best trio in WYW is. We will now return you to your regularly scheduled broadcast right after these messages.
Hi everybody, my name is Gary Hebert with the World Academy of Hockey.
We all know Gary is a great skater and also a great stick handler. Enthusiasm is contagious.
Hands will get better, your goal will get better, you learn how to skate faster and better.
Developing that east to west lateral explosiveness. So that lateral explosiveness is going to lead to a lot more unpredictability and elusiveness on the ice. You know, now you see me, now you don't.
You really have to develop those skating skills and stick handling skills.
So listen, when you come to my camps or clinics, what we're after is this. We want to build a complete player, quote unquote, from the blades up. When we're on this ice, we're here to, number one, work hard, number two, have fun. If we work hard and have fun, ain't nothing else that matters, okay? Improvement is inevitable if we're working hard and having fun. Isn't that right, Nick? See? Nick, isn't that right?
If you would like to try and go to Gary Hebert's World Academy of Hockey, please go to the website www.garyhebert.com Right there will be a sign-up page for you to sign up anytime, anywhere. Make sure to also check out the schedule page and check out the different events that are on there to see what it's really all about. Gary Hebert's World Academy of Hockey, the breakthrough hockey performance center of North America. From the Blades Up.
Proud sponsor of Weymouth Youth Wrestling.
And welcome back to Off the Books with the outsider Mark Young. When last we left off, we established how you found Weymouth Youth Wrestling and your connection with the people that would later become the Maggie Daddy. This brings me to the Test Match series. You made your in-ring debut for the company in Test Match 4 against Corey Dangerous in WYW's first ever televised Full Metal Mayhem match. Can you talk us through it? Fucking fantastic match that I was honored to take part in with Corey. You know this already from watching his matches, but he is one tough son of a bitch. Sharp as hell, too. Got a great mind for in-ring tech, brutality, and awareness. He told me before the match, listen, we gotta steal the show tonight. Bring everything you have, and I'll do the same. If we can trust each other to get us where we need to go, I have faith we'll get there. So we went out there and pounded the fuck out of each other for about a half hour. It was great, and still a great match to watch back. This, however, brings me to Test Match 13. You took on the Executioner Michael X and nearly ended his career with a sledgehammer and a whole bunch of broken glass. First, I have to ask the obvious question. Why? I fucking knew you were gonna go there. Okay, here's why. You ever been in prison? No. And I don't think you have either. Though you probably should be after some of the things you've done. That's a matter of opinion, and you're wrong. No, I've never been in prison, but I know several people that have. So where is this going? Are you comparing WYW to a prison facility? Fuck no! Although it certainly feels like it sometimes. But here's the thing. When you first arrive at a prison, if you want to avoid trouble, you go straight to the baddest, meanest, toughest son of a bitch you can find in there. And you know what you do? Ally yourself with him? You're so fucking innocent. It'd be cute if it wasn't such shit. No, you don't kiss his ass. You fuck him up. And you fuck him up 6 ways to Sunday. That way, the other inmates know not to fuck with you. And as far as anyone could tell you, that was Michael X? Yup. So I stepped to him, said my piece, and we had the match. The whole way through, I could only think this one thought. Destroy, defile, cripple, humiliate, annihilate. You damn near killed him in that match. Are you shitting me right now? Please. I don't need to kill a man to prove my greatness. Besides, killing him would have been too good for him. I needed to do far worse than that. I needed to hurt him. I needed to make him suffer to prove that I was the best in the company. And as I said earlier, the ends justify the means. Hence the sledgehammer and the broken glass. So I went in there and spent almost an hour picking him apart. And, admittedly, getting my ass handed to me as well. There were many points during that match I thought Michael X was gonna pull it out, I have to admit. He almost did. But I wasn't gonna be denied that night. I was destined to claim my spot atop the WYW Pantheon. Which, by right away. Spoiler alert for Immortal. Moving on to test match 14, you were sitting in a limo waiting for Andre to come back from the ring. Just as he entered the parking lot, I almost got fucking smushed by John Gray in a monster truck. He then proceeded to nearly behead little Andre with the fucking cage. I'm lucky I was able to crawl out of that wreck. You recovered pretty quickly, though. You were back in time for test match 17, a triple threat Full Metal Mayhem against Chris Phoenix and Johnny Starr, where I got put through 2 tables and Twinkle Toes got the briefcase. Fun. Listen, I have respect for Chris Phoenix. He's another tough son of a bitch. But Johnny Starr got too big for his britches in that match. I simply put him in his place, at the bottom of the barrel. I think Johnny Starr is one of the most talented athletes, pound for pound, that we have in this company. You filthy fucking mark. That's only because you've never stepped in the ring with him. Let me set the record straight for you. Johnny Starr is a tiny little goldfish in shark-infested waters. He's a 9-year-old boy trapped inside the body of a nerdy little bitch who goes around pretending to be a man. If he sticks around any longer after he proves how badly he fails at life come immortal, he's gonna get eaten alive. If not by one of these baby tiger or hammerhead sharks, then by yours truly, the fucking megalodon of the ocean that is WYW. Test match 20 saw Ian Lancaster win a table from hell match. You and the Maggie Daddies came in as Ian was celebrating and started laying waste to everything in your path. What was that about? That actually came from up top. We were told that test match 20 was going to be the last one before the Gold Rush tournament began, and that they wanted to end the series with a bang. They told us, we're going to have people running all around throughout the arena and just going ape shit. Go out there after the match ends and raise hell. Of course, nobody can raise hell like the Maggie Daddy men. So we beat the shit out of everyone we could. Including the Morning Stars, who you actually took out by yourself and relished every second of it. Twinkle Toes Jr. went through the barricade like a brick through a glass window. And Twinkle Toes himself took yet another ass whipping from me. Needless to say, I was on top of the world. But then it all came crashing down when Michael X hit the ring. Yeah, I about dropped a brick when I saw him. I thought I'd ended him. But now, I'm kinda glad I didn't. Because now I have the chance to end him for good on the biggest stage this company has. And I will not miss this chance again. And on that note, I'm told that it is now time to take our second commercial break. When we come back, it's all about the Gold Rush tournament. Mark's thoughts, some of his favorite moves and moments, and then we look to the future and see what he has in mind for Immortal. We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
If you guys are into the underground hip-hop scene, please check out my cousin MC Solarwind on YouTube.com, SoundCloud.com, and other social media platforms.
A reason to go on, cause it's lonely on my own. I chose to leave my home, cause I thought that I had grown. My paper stack high, so high, but not cash though. My mind works quicker than most, guess why I rap for? I write lyrics backwards, didn't catch it, hit the fast forward.
You can check out all of his hits from his mixtape Classic.
And it's all real. Underground path.
half the pavement. We be wildin' on the corner freestyling.
To his second mixtape, I Am Solar Wind. Along with all the rest of his music on soundcloud.com/MC-solar-win. Make sure you give some props to my cousin and tell him that James sent you here. Love you, Ty. Keep doing you, man.
Proud sponsor of Weymouth Youth Wrestling.
Home. It's where your story comes to life. Trust CertaPro painters to create the perfect setting as each new chapter unfolds. We're easy to work with, and our professional painters deliver the highest level of service. So wherever life leads, your home follows. CertaPro painters. We do painting. You do life. Schedule your free estimate at CertaPro.com.
Proudly sponsored by Weymouth Youth Wrestling.
This is a public service announcement by Radio Massasoit. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Texting on your phone while you're driving. You don't think there's anything bad that could come about it? Huh, it's just a simple text, right, that you're sending out to a friend? Well, what happens if you hear this? That's you in a car crash. And pretty soon, you're going to be leaving behind your family, friends, and loved ones. Next time when you're on your way to school, wait until you're off the road to text someone. This public service announcement about texting and driving was brought to you by Radio Massasoit, where success starts here.
And we're back live with the outsider, Mark Young. Last we left off, we talked all the way through the end of the test match series. Now we come to the Gold Rush tournament itself. Can you talk me through it and give us some of your favorite moves and moments? Not really much to say about any of my opponents. They didn't deserve to be where they were. Well, except maybe Kyle Weaver. He's a lot tougher than I gave him credit for. The so-called franchise? More like failure, Chris Dodd. Take your male pattern baldness back to your mother's basement, you bitch. My second opponent? He got himself arrested so he didn't have to fight me again. Enough said. Kyle Weaver was really the only one that acquitted himself well enough to mean anything. He went ham in that match, and I have to give him props for it. Sister Sean Maverick? I have only one thing to say about him. The nerdy bitch watches JoJo's fucking Bizarre Adventure. Ugh. How fucking gay do you have to be to watch that bullshit? A real man at least watches Sonic X. Don't even fucking play that game with me. He's a fucking faggot and everyone knows it. And if they don't, they should. Now, favorite moment? I have to say it's pinning Sister Maverick in that cell block match at Gold Rush. Boston finally got to see its so-called real American hero for the pussy that he is. And I was the one to expose him. It felt better than sex, honestly. And there's not a lot of things that feel better than that. Favorite move? That's a tough one. Honestly, I think I have to go with either Corey's dangerous DDT or Brett Mention's bullhammer elbow. brutal, simple, effective, and devastating. The Maggie Daddy Men personified. Just awesome. Almost done here. Thank Jesus. But before we come to the last questions, do you have a favorite memory or story from your career thus far? My favorite memory actually hasn't happened yet. It's finally taking out Michael X for good and becoming the first WYW World Champion in front of 57,000 people at Gillette Stadium. Completing my apotheosis and truly becoming immortal. Speaking of immortal, it's finally time to look to the future. As I mentioned at the top of the show, you're going up against Michael X in a Hell in a Cell match at Immortal to crown the first ever WYW World Champion. I'm almost afraid to ask, but what are you thinking about going into this match? I'm thinking, Casey, about many things. Namely, how it's gonna feel as I wrench the life out of the Boston Devil. How I'm gonna render him a paraplegic again. This time, permanently. How it's gonna feel when I shove my dear Lucy baby into his fucking throat. And how it's gonna feel when I end Michael X's career once and for all by young bombing him through the roof of the cell, sending him straight back to hell where he belongs, and claiming the gold for myself. Lastly, do you have a message for anyone about Immortal? This one's for the sheep you all refer to as fans. I am gonna hold the WYW Championship high above my head. I don't care who I beat or how I do it. You better tune into Immortal, because you will witness Superman becoming a god. Whether you like it or you don't, learn to love it, because I'm gonna own that belt as long as I damn well please, and there's fucking nothing any of you can do about it. So get used to being miserable, because I'm gonna get off on your suffering, and I'm gonna enjoy watching you squirm. Hold on a second. I gotta take this. Hello?
Mark! It's Mark!
Corey? Corey, talk to me! Where are you? Where are the boys? I'll be there as soon as I can!
Hey, what's up, cocksucker?
You fucking prick, get away from my friends!
Sorry, you're a little too late. By the way, did you know that he drinks 2% milk? Too bad that he's a 2% bitch.
Oh, you better fucking run, you bitch! I'm coming for you! Wait, what's going on? Where are you going?
I'm gonna crucify that motherfucker!
Well, that happened. Whew, thank Jesus he's gone. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to another edition of WYW Off the Books. I'm the Wrestling Encyclopedia, Casey Gallagher, and I'll see you next time. I need a freaking drink. Go get him, Michael X.
Sever
from hell with the Psycho Asylum. An Iron Man match of factorial proportions. Man.
In this fight, I will melt you down to slag.
Versus Machine.
I calculate a 0.85% chance that you will win in your current condition.
All Metal Mayhem. Colleen Horizon.
When you throw me into the wolves, I will return leading the pack.
Vera McGarden.
And I'll do anything to be the warrior on top.
For the Athena title, best friends turned bitter rivals. Johnny Starr.
Don't get in the way of the star or you'll get burned.
James, the Archangel.
I'm the real star of this brand.
For the international title, the Outsider, Mark Young. The Executioner, Michael X. For the WYW World Heavyweight title. 2 out of 3 fall.
Inside.
In a hell in a cell. WYW Immortal this Saturday night. Now available on these streaming platforms.